Psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So here's a question. Do you think your personality is fixed from the moment you're born? Is your personality simply your destiny? Most people believe personality is shaped half by genetics and half by the way their parents raise it. But neuroscience and decades of behavioral genetics research paint a very different picture. In 2015, a massive meta-analysis covering 1,500 pairs of twins reached a fascinating conclusion. On average, about 49% of human personality is heritable. In other words, half of who you are was already written into your genetic blueprint the day you were born. But what about the other half? Decades of research keep pointing to the same surprising conclusion. The shared family environment, things like your parents' parenting style or your family's income, has almost no measurable impact on your adult personality. So, what actually shapes the personality you develop later in life? The answer is something called the non-shared environment, the unique experiences that even your own siblings never went through. From the perspective of neuroscience, personality isn't described with moral labels like good or bad, strong or weak. Instead, psychologists measure it across 5 major personality traits. The first is openness to experience. It has the highest heritability, around 61%, making it the personality trait most strongly influenced by genetics. It's closely linked to activity in the prefrontal cortex and the default mode network. Take Elon Musk as an example. He constantly comes up with bold and unconventional ideas. You could say his brain's factory settings simply came with a highly active imagination. He's naturally drawn to novelty, complexity, and exploring new possibilities. The second trait is extroversion. Its heritability is about 53%. Being an extrovert or an introvert isn't really about how much you enjoy talking. It's largely determined by how strongly your brain's reward system, especially the ventral striatum and nucleus accumbens, responds to dopamine. For extroverts, social interaction and new experiences trigger a much stronger reward response. They genuinely enjoy busy environments because their brains experience more pleasure from them. That's why they naturally seek out excitement and crowds. Introverts, on the other hand, have a reward system that's less responsive to external stimulation. Too much noise, too many people, or too much social interaction can overload their senses. When a room gets crowded, they don't necessarily dislike people. Their brain is simply telling them it's time to leave. So, calling introverts antisocial completely misses the point. They are experiencing the exact same situation, but their brains generate a very different reward signal. The third trait is neuroticism, or emotional instability. Its heritability is around 41%. This trait depends largely on the sensitivity of the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and the anterior insula, which processes emotional pain. Some people can be insulted and move on immediately. Others may replay that single comment in their head for days, lose sleep over it, and spiral into self-doubt. What we often call being emotionally fragile may simply mean having a naturally lower threshold for negative feedback. The fourth trait is consciousness, with a heritability of about 44%. The fifth is agreeableness, around 41%. Both depend heavily on how effectively the prefrontal cortex regulates impulsive brain circuits, as well as your capacity for empathy. So, if parenting has very little influence on personality, where does the remaining 50% come from? The answer lies in non-shared experiences. Imagine your genes are like receiving a wooden guitar at birth. Non-shared experiences are everything you do to shape that guitar over time. They are the scratches, the wear, and the way you learn to play it. The type of wood determines its natural sound, but the music you create is entirely up to you. Here's an example. Imagine identical twins with exactly the same DNA. They grew up in the same home with the same parents and received the same education. But once they start school, the older brother meets a teacher who constantly encourages him. The younger brother, meanwhile, is repeatedly bullied on his way home. Those unique experiences become part of their non-shared environment. They don't change the DNA itself, but they can change which genes are turned on or off through DNA methylation, one of the major epigenetic mechanisms. The younger brother's traumatic experience may keep activating his amygdala's anxiety circuits, leaving him deeply insecure as an adult. Meanwhile, years of positive reinforcement may strengthen the older brother's confidence network in the prefrontal cortex. As children, you may look like a copy of your parents, but as adults, you are gradually shaped by the world you personally experience. At this point, you might be wondering, if half of my personality comes from my genes and the other half was shaped by my early experiences, does that mean I'm stuck this way? Absolutely not. Your brain remains plastic throughout your entire life. If there's part of your personality that's making you suffer, there are two evidence-based approaches that can help. The first is called free trait theory, proposed by Harvard personality psychologist Brian Little. Interestingly, Professor Little describes himself as deeply introverted, even socially anxious. Yet, he's also one of Harvard's most popular public speakers. His idea is simple. For goals that truly matter to you, you can temporarily act outside your natural personality. I use this strategy all the time. Don't try to permanently erase your introversion or sensitivity. But if you genuinely care about your work, you can consciously recruit your prefrontal cortex and behave as if you're highly outgoing and disciplined during those 8 working hours. The catch is that afterward, you have to let yourself recover. Maybe you sit alone in your car, maybe you spend 30 minutes listening to your favorite music. Give your anxious brain time to calm down. Changing your personality isn't about becoming someone else. It's about learning when to put on the mask and when to take it off. The second strategy is even more powerful. Use action to reshape your brain. Most people think, I need to become confident first, then I will take action. In reality, your brain works the opposite way. Action comes first. Confidence comes later. Your nucleus accumbens and prefrontal cortex don't become stronger just because you keep repeating positive affirmations. They become stronger because you repeatedly behave differently. Here's how you apply it. If you are naturally anxious, don't just meditate and tell yourself, I shouldn't be afraid. Instead, deliberately do something that makes you slightly uncomfortable. For example, be the first person to speak up during a meeting. You will probably feel terrified, but once you survive the experience and realize nothing terrible happened, your brain detects a positive prediction error. Reality turned out to be better than expected. That triggers a dopamine release. Repeat this process again and again, and your brain gradually learns to ignore the amygdala's false alarms. When you strip away all the psychology jargon, personality is really nothing more than the habitual firing patterns of specific neural circuits. That's true for almost everything your brain does. When two people face the exact same crisis, one person's amygdala instantly takes over. Their instinct is to run away or fight back. The other person's prefrontal cortex takes control within a fraction of a second. It calms their emotions, suppresses their impulses, and helps them think clearly. Those tiny differences, measured in milliseconds, are what the outside world calls personality. Your genes and your early environment may have placed heavy chains on you, but never forget this. A resilient heart and the courage to act are still the most powerful tools you have to break those chains. As long as you genuinely want to change and you are willing to pay the price through real action, then every time someone hurts your feelings, every time your instinct tells you to run away or please everyone, if you choose instead to do the difficult but correct thing, once, twice, 100 times, something remarkable begins to happen. All neural pathways slowly weaken. New synapses begin to form. And over time, isn't that exactly what it means to change your personality? Your personality begins as a code written by thousands of tiny genes. Then life leaves its epigenetic fingerprints on that code. So never apologize for being naturally sensitive, introverted, or anxious. Those are simply the colors your life started with. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. No matter how narrow the gate of fate may seem, or how many hardships life places in your path, inside this incredibly sophisticated machine we call the human body, you still hold the highest level of authority. So, reshape your brain through thousands of small actions, and in doing so, reshape your life. Thanks for watching this video today. I'm Yu. Follow me for more to level up your mind.